Hey, Yetta, I always get excited to buy another investment property.
I know. And here's my question. Can you follow through on the commitment that's involved with it? That's what I always ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.
We're excited because we've created for you free access to over 587 Life's Inside Track episodes where we talk about real estate, but also insider tips, making house home, growing wealth, and just in general, having the best life possible. And the great news is you can get access to them from home, from the office, or on the go. So we're going to consider, how do you move past excitement to the commitment that you said you wanted to do? And stay with the thing when the enthusiasm, the joy, the fun, the exuberance around it is gone.
Yeah, that's interesting because sometimes you make a commitment. Like I bought some guitars thinking, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. But you know what? I was committed to the fun of owning them, but not the lessons, which is interesting. So then they're sitting down in the basement. Another thing would be, what we did, which was really good, because we're avid learners. I don't know if you've picked that up from us as you're listening to Yetta and I. We love to learn. We love to teach. We love to grow. And we can get shiny object syndrome. And for us, it's another course. It's another training. It's another something, right?
Well, true confessions, right? Like in the past, I would often buy a course or a program, or whether it was live in the room or whether it was an online learning or whether it was an evergreen product, I would buy them because in the moment I was super pumped about learning that thing. That was the thing that could trip me up. And so I would buy it. And maybe we have a tendency, I think, often to get enthused in the moment, take immediate action, because if we don't take immediate action, we may not take action at all. So there's the good side of it. And yet we tend to overcommit to what we can do when we don't step back to think about it for a moment. And so have you ever found yourself doing that, saying yes real quick and then wishing you hadn't said yes so quick? And so when you think about and so I never finished those courses, by the way. I never even opened them.
I was going to remind you.
I know. I never even opened them. So in the past, that would happen to me. Now it pretty much never happens. It may not happen on the exact timeline I have in my head. So if I'm buying an evergreen, I may think I can probably commit to that in 2 weeks. But even when we were writing the book Life X, we agreed to hire the publisher many years before we wrote it because he was raising money for a catastrophic event in the world. And that was our opportunity to support the event plus commit to the book. But the first thing I said to him is, I am not committing to the when because I know what's already on my plate moving forward. And their idea of when and ours was very different. It was another 5 years before I was ready to take action on that. Now, I thought it would be 3, but the reality is once I start, I want to be able to follow through on my commitment, even when it gets really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you mentioned at the top of the show, buying another investment property.
Yes.
And I said, what about the commitment? Can you follow through on the commitments? What kinds of things am I talking about? Okay,
well, let's go back a little bit, like a year ago, because I wanted to buy a building a year ago. And by the way, I'm not wanting to buy a property today.
I feel better.
You're safe.
If you don't feel better, I certainly feel better.
Yeah. But I wanted to buy an investment property. We found one that we thought was good. It was an 18-unit apartment building. And your question to me was, well, if we can get the financing and we can have the down payment, that's one thing. But the second thing is, are you willing or you have the bandwidth, the margin, the space to put in all those communications with tenants, the collecting of the rent, the repairs on the building, all of that? And I said to you, no, I'm not. So what did we do?
We got a partner. We could commit with a partner because that partner brought not quite as much expertise at that time to the whole real estate journey. and brought a fair bit of expertise to the property managing and collecting of the rents and the running to the unit. Because 18 units, it's going to be a fair bit of work, and they hadn't been updated in a really long time. And so by partnering with somebody, it allowed us to make a commitment that we felt we could honor and stay with, and it not throw you off the other commitments.
Right. And the beauty is, because I partnered, I didn't lose the opportunity, right? We didn't lose the opportunity to own this building because I saw the potential in it. And that's what gets me excited, right? The potential. And really, we're coming up on 2 years. It's 2 years in August. And our investment's gone from 400 to 600. So we've had a 50% increase in 2 years, which is pretty exceptional.
400 to 600.
Yeah, that's a 50% increase.
Right.
In 2 years. That's 25% per year.
Which is pretty incredible, right?
Yes. So it was a great opportunity. I just had to figure out a way that it didn't drain our ability to meet our other commitments.
Right.
Like our clients and our business and our family and spending time with my loved one.
Of course. And I'm the loved one, of course. So thinking about what is the commitment going to entail is really what we're saying. We're using a real estate example because that's the world we live in. And it's the thing that's for real for me. And maybe for you too, even if you're thinking about improvements around the house. Sometimes I have clients that commit to taking on and renovating the whole house, but then when they get 80% of the way through, they don't want to do the last little bit. And it's like, I have a client right now, I'm navigating around that. He said, but I don't want to do that. That's finicky work. We're talking $1,000 to finish it. And I said, the challenge is you've committed to a completed house. And so now if you don't do that one thing, it's going to cost you a fair bit of the investment from the other improvements because you're not getting the value out of all that you've done, right? So if you're thinking, but I don't know what improvements to make, I don't know what I should do, what I shouldn't do in my house, get a 15-minute clarity call before you do the improvements so that you're not overcommitting and you're not committing to things that you could just let go of. They're rubber balls. They're not even breakable.
Right. And one of the things we find is if we put it in our calendar, like we time block and we put things in our calendar that our intention is to do it daily or weekly or whatever it is. And then when we don't do it consistently, we don't do it. What happens to our
integrity goes out the window and we get deflated, and I get frantic again because I overcommitted to what I could even do on a daily basis.
So it's better to delete those. Really look at where your values are and what you're willing to truly commit. And if you're not willing to truly commit, take it out of your calendar because otherwise you're just out of integrity. And then your brain starts saying, oh, it's okay to be out of integrity. It's okay to be out of integrity because I have this in my calendar. I'm not doing it. That's okay. I skip it every week. That's not good.
No. And so we don't want that for you. We want to make sure that you can stay in integrity. Because when you say yes to something, it actually means you're saying no to something else.
Well, you're almost saying no to everything else.
Right. And I think I sometimes forget that when I say yes to you, that I'm going to meet with you on a Thursday night to sell a home, then anything else that comes up,
you have to say no.
I have to say no to. So you want to make sure, I want to make sure, and I know you do too, that what you commit to, you can carry through on.
Yeah. And thanks for growing alongside of us because we're passionate about everyone being positioned for generational legacy.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward.